Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir, and on today's show, we are going to be discussing three things. Number one is price action for Palantir, because we've had a very interesting day with the price action. Number two, we're going to be talking about Palantir's partnership in Bahrain, the energy partnership they had last week that I didn't get to cover. We'll also cover a little bit of insider selling as well. And then number three, Karp wrote an article for Time Magazine. We're not going to read the article. We're going to just do a high-level overview of it. And then I'm going to do a separate episode probably on my Palantir live stream that's called Deep Dives. We do those usually every night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., where I'm just going to read the article and then analyze the article. So a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a hell of a day in the world of Palantir and in the broader markets. We've got CPI data tomorrow, got some macro stuff. Strap in, get some juice, get some food. Let's get into it. All right, first thing we're going to do is talk about this price action today, which has quite frankly just been unbelievable. Palantir right now ended the day $25.05. So we ended the day above $25. Did not expect that to happen, but that did indeed happen. And as a result of that, we had our first day ending above 25 since 2021. We are after hours down about 1%, 24.79. It's really been a battle between 24.70 and $25. We hit a high of 25.53 today, and then we hit a low of about 24.20. Well, we actually were 23.89, right? Like in the right beginning at 9:30, and then we spiked back up to $25. Now, let's look at the order flow and see how this is kind of happening. As you can see right here, we had $533 million enter the stock today, $561 million leave the stock. That's why it's down about 1% after hours. But the fact that we held $25 is just incredible. As you can see right here on the volume analysis on the left or the right-hand side of my screen, we can see the percentage of buys and sells based on the prices. So at 25.11, you had 390,000 shares being sold versus 383,000 shares being bought. And then as we go lower and lower, we see that at the 24 ranges, so 24.95, 24.40, we had a lot more buying than a lot more selling. So obviously today, there was enough selling to get the stock to come down for the day by 1%. But the fact that there were enough buyers willing to buy up this stock in that 24.30, 24.50, 24.60 range means that the appetite for Palantir is still strong and that people want the stock, maybe even institutional investors. Volume was 108 million. This is actually not the best for Palantir, given that the last day on Friday, we had 150 million, which is down from 400 million 3 days before Friday, the day after earnings. So volume is, I wouldn't say drying up, because 100 million shares is nothing to scoff at, but usually volume on average is about 60 to 80 million. So we're still above average. And in the coming months, or in the coming days, quite frankly, we're going to see if that volume gets back to that average or if that volume sustains these levels. Now, NVIDIA is something we have to talk about when we're talking about Palantir. NVIDIA right now in the after hours is down about 0.53%. It's at 718. But NVIDIA is at 722. It hit a high of 746 today. NVIDIA was up another 5%. Obviously not anymore, but it did get to those levels. SMCI, another stock that it seems like a lot of people are chasing, it's down about 0.64%, but it added about $3 billion to its market cap, up 4.42% on the day. And then ARM, another AI stock, added another $30 billion of market cap today. It's a $153 billion company. This is a company that's very important in the semi space, but they're only going to do $3.2 billion in revenue for fiscal year 2024. They have 90 million shares outstanding. SoftBank owns 91% of the shares. Seems like they wanted to get a squeeze on a low float, which is kind of what they've been able to do. And on March 12th, when insiders can sell their shares, that's likely going to all be dumped on the market. And it's going to, we're just going to have a lot more shares. So the idea that there would be this much volume, in this case today, 111 million shares chasing only 90 million shares available, probably not going to happen. The reason I bring up those three stocks in the context of Palantir is because it looks like the market is continuing the momentum when it comes to AI. And the market continuing the momentum for AI just means that Palantir is going to have some derivative effects of going higher potentially as a result of the market chasing AI names. Whether it's an institutional fund, whether it's algorithms, whether it's retail traders, people want AI exposure, people want semiconductor exposure, and Palantir, even though it's not semis, it's definitely an AI software play. Valuation, people really don't care about, because at the end of the day, if AI is going up, then they got to get some exposure to AI. It does feel, not just Palantir price action, but price action across the market. And I'm very curious what you guys think about it in the comments, but it does feel a little similar to 2021, where things were just going up for the hell of things just going up. QQQ fell a little bit on the day after reaching a top at 439. Same thing with the S&P. S&P hit 503. Now it's down at 500 after hours. I don't know if we're going to see a correction. I don't know if we're going to see a melt up and it just goes higher and higher. But Palantir could as easily go to 30 versus 19, in my opinion. given the fact that the market is chasing AI and maybe the market hasn't gotten enough of it. NVIDIA earnings on February 21st, I think, are going to determine the trajectory of the market over the next 6 months. If NVIDIA shows that their demand is quite frankly infinite and that they don't have any problems in terms of future demand, I think the market's going to go higher. I think the S&P is going to go higher. I think companies are going to have to justify paying for higher valuations, and I think Palantir is going to go higher. If NVIDIA says, hey, like, we're going to grow, but we're not going to grow as much as you think we're going to grow, so this 50% increase, NVIDIA stock is up 50% year to date. It is now more valuable than Amazon. The last time this happened was in the year 2000 when both companies were under a $6 billion market cap. Now they're chasing a $2 trillion market cap. NVIDIA at this point is at a $1.8 trillion market cap, which is higher than Amazon. $500 billion in market cap. They added a Tesla in terms of its market cap in 5 weeks. That's not usually rational, reasonable. That usually doesn't happen, but that's what's happening right now. And I think Palantir is a third order derivative beneficiary from that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The fact that it actually held 24 just means that there is enough momentum in the stock right now. And over the next few weeks, we're going to see what ends up happening with Palantir. All right, next thing I want to talk about real quick is the new article that Alex Karp put out. The title of this article is called Silicon Valley Has a Harvard Problem. Again, I'll do a live stream where I read the entire article, and you guys will be able to hear me read it, and I'll analyze it in real time. Karp is coming out with a book called The Technological Republic later this year. I think it's going to be in April-ish is when I heard the book is coming out. Maybe it's a little bit later from then. But this is kind of like a preview to that book, because that entire book is a essentially critique of Silicon Valley and how tech companies have operated, the rewards, the sort of incentive structure that tech companies have used in order to galvanize their masses and their attention and their fortunes, etc. And Karp's basically, all that shit is bullshit. And it's going to be exciting to read that. But the fact that he actually put out a book is really interesting. Joe Lonsdale tweeted, Alex Karp, my friend and co-founder of Palantir, is a wise man and a private one. He rarely discusses his views in public, but when he does, it's worth reading closely. One quote from the book: the dystopian future that Orwell and others have imagined may be near, but not because of the surveillance state or contraptions built by Silicon Valley giants that rob us of our privacy or our most intimate moments alone. It is we, not our technical creations, who are to blame for failing to encourage and enable the radical act of belief in something above and beyond external to the self. That quote already lets you know this article is going to be hot fire, and I can't wait to read it. And you guys can definitely join me in the live stream, and we'll read it and analyze it together. Now, why is Karp releasing this as a quote or as a article on Time? Time magazine, owned by Mark Benioff. He paid $190 million for it in 2018. It's now a free magazine, so people don't have to pay a paywall just to be able to access those ideas. We talked about this last week, but Time is a particular type of magazine that a lot of people read that aren't like, your typical YouTube kind of CNBC watchers. They're more people that, they've historically read Time for a very long time. It's been a magazine that has been around for, I think at this point, almost a century. And there are certain types of people that have certain types of money that read this website, that read these articles. And with a title like Silicon Valley Has a Harvard Problem, that is something that's just begging to go viral. So if you have not been introduced to Palantir before, if you want to learn about why there is a Harvard problem with Silicon Valley, if you are curious about anti-Semitism that is happening, obviously, the Harvard, UPenn, and MIT professors saying that they find no problem with people saying that you can have a genocide against certain groups of people, i.e. Jewish people. Like the fact that this ethos exists right now in Palantir, obviously having a very hardline stance in terms of their support of Israel. I think this article is going to get a lot of attention. I think it's going to get a lot of clicks. I think a lot of people are going to read it. I think there's going to be people that have certain types of money that don't really look at YouTube or CNBC, but are definitely interested in the equity markets and want to make investments that are going to be reading this magazine. And I think overall, this is a net positive for Alex Karp, who doesn't really share his views publicly. You got Elon Musk tweeting, and Karp's version of tweeting is writing 15-minute articles, and really, he's an academic. He's a PhD. He puts out his thoughts in depth and lets the market consume them. So I think Karp is being a lot more active in terms of getting his ideas out into the world, and I think this is a great thing to do right before the book comes out, because when that book comes out and you got the CEO of a public company that you can invest in giving his thoughts, which is a rebuke of how Silicon Valley has basically acted in regards to the past 10 years around innovation and in regards to the commoditization of our attention, you're going to have a lot of people that are interested in what the hell Palantir is. To me, the S-curve of media attention is just compounding for Palantir. Time actually just did a piece on Palantir. We're also going to probably cover that in another live stream. That's like a 20-minute article where the Palantir made the cover of Time. right? Where they were literally speaking about what's going on in Ukraine, and Palantir was mentioned over 40 times in that article in terms of how Palantir software is being one of the key places, one of the key mechanisms on the battlefield for Ukraine to be able to survive against Russia. So it's very exciting to see Palantir get their name out there. It seems like the media coverage is happening. Obviously, the media coverage on Palantir is nothing like the media coverage on the Mag 7 or Tesla or anything like that. But that's why the company is only worth, $40-50 billion. It's going to take time for that to compound. But when that does, along with, the broader AI narrative continuing to compound, I think a lot of people are going to know what Palantir is, and it's not just going to be you and me watching these videos. So really exciting stuff, and we'll see what happens in the future. I'll be reading that article live, and we'll analyze what Karp had to say. All right, last thing I wanted to talk about today is a press release that I didn't get to talk about last week, since last week we had a lot of stuff going on. Palantir is working in Bahrain. And it's working with a company called BAPCO, a subsidiary of BAPCO Upstream, a subsidiary of BAPCO Energies, to be able to institute software platforms to enhance energy production efficiency in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So let's read a little bit of this, and then we will analyze it. The collaboration involves deploying Palantir's Foundry platform and artificial intelligence platform, AIP, over 3 years. So it's a 3-year deal, similar to Kohl's. We had a 3-year deal with them. This initiative aims to optimize BAPCO's upstream return on investment in energy production and aligns with Bahrain's national strategy to reduce carbon emissions. The kingdom is committed to a 30% reduction in emissions by 2035 and a goal of net zero by 2060, as stated during His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Crown's Prince and Prime Minister of Bahrain at the conference at COP26. Matt Babin, global head of energy at Palantir, expressed the company's honor in supporting Bahrain's energy security and transition goals. Palantir has over a decade of experience in the energy sector, providing solutions that span the entire value chain, including production, distribution, and efforts to reduce carbon emissions. People forget the partnership Palantir had with Trafigura, which is it's a company that basically tracks the carbon emissions in the raw materials of your supply chain to be able to help you reduce those carbon emissions. So Palantir has a lot of experience working with those. Trafigura is just one example. And so it makes sense that they would be able to get this type of a contract. The AIP platform is designed to integrate disparate data sources and systems into a unified operational framework, enabling better decision-making and leveraging large language models and other AI advancements for enterprise applications. CEO of BAPCO Upstream highlighted the partnership's significance in driving value and efficiency in the company's operations. And Alex Karp also talked. Let me just pull up the quote by Karp, because I know there is a quote that is on the official press release, and then we will analyze this. So Karp said, what did Karp say? We are proud of this partnership, which will enable BAPCO Upstream to boost output, improve efficiency, and meet Bahrain's energy goals. BAPCO Energies is positioning itself at the forefront of the AI revolution in energy production. And then CEO of BAPCO said, we are thrilled to announce our strategic partnership with Palantir. This collaboration marks a pivotal moment for BAPCO Upstream as it aligns seamlessly with our commitment to innovation and business excellence. We are poised to unlock new possibilities in our upstream operations by delivering value and driving efficiency throughout the organization. Okay, why is this a big deal? A lot of reasons. Number one, international commercial deal. We had one in Australia. We had one with the Aussies. I was saying that wrong in the last one. You guys made fun of me. It's Aussies or Aussies. People say it's OZZ, not Aussies. We had one with the Australians, and now we're having one with Bahrain. We have not had a string of international deals that are of pretty big importance in a while in regards to like really utilizing AIP and locking down a 3-year commitment. So the fact that we got one of the largest supermarket chains in Australia, and now we're getting one of the largest energy companies in Bahrain, that is going to be very important for some geopolitical reasons we'll talk about. That's a good thing. Both of them are 3 years, leading me to believe maybe Palantir has a particular strategy, with AIP, is that there's sort of like a 3-year deal that is like a template for what they do. And the fact that we locked them down for 3 years is very good. I mean, this is a company that I would imagine is going to be paying closer to $10 to $20 million a year, right? This is a big company. They're not going to be, paying $500,000 for Palantir. Now, the second reason is that energy independence is incredibly important. And a country like Bahrain wants to make sure they continuously have energy production. Bahrain is a small island country in the Persian Gulf, located in West Asia. It's made up of about 50 natural islands, 33 artificial islands, with Bahrain Island making up about 83% of the country's landmass. Bahrain is located east of Saudi Arabia and north of Qatar. The captain is Manama. Geopolitically, it makes sense for Bahrain to secure their own energy. It also makes sense for them to optimize the ability for them to extract the natural resources they have to be able to make sure that if they had some level of integration of their data, which I would imagine are billions and billions of rows of data in regards to optimizing energy production, energy drilling, and then ultimately energy exporting, then something like Palantir makes a lot of sense. Palantir, I think a lot of people forget, we worked with BP. BP bought 1% of the company at one point. Now they sold off that stake, but there was a reason why the CEO of BP wanted to invest in terms of buying 1% of Palantir, because they completely optimized the entire operational efficiency, supply chains, end-to-end management of drilling, procurement, everything when it came to BP. This is a company that's much more smaller than BP in the context of Bapco upstream. And if Palantir can have any level of the effect that they can have that they did with BP, and they've got 3 years to let this play out, it's probably going to be beneficial for Bapco. Now, in terms of Bapco's revenue, this is what I got from Gemini, formerly known as Bard. They don't have the official thing released, but in 2020, they put up about $4.3 billion in revenue. So we don't have anything from 2023. It's been 3 years from then. I would imagine they've at least grown slightly. So this is a company that's putting up, call it $5 to $7 billion of revenue a year. They've got a lot of data to manage, a lot of operational efficiencies in which they can become better at in terms of increasing margins, decreasing costs, and growing top-line revenue. This is their website right here. As you can see, this is a big company. They do a lot of stuff in Bahrain. They're not messing around, and I would imagine that they want to become, in this hyper-competitive economy, not only for oil, not only for energy, but for making sure you extract it in the best possible way and the most optimal way. You've got to have some level of data integration, some level of AI, and Palantir is going to be that operating system for Bapco. So this is a really good deal for Palantir shareholders. The deal dropped right after earnings. It's one of those deals where you're like, okay, these are the deals we're supposed to be getting with AIP. And the final thing I'll say on this is that it's just proving that AIP is valuable. Notice this deal is for Foundry and AIP. Foundry is the ontology. AIP is the artificial intelligence platform that is extracting data from the ontology. It's the exact same deal that was with Kohl's supermarkets. I think Palantir is partnering both of these flagship products together, and they're throwing them into these companies. And they're saying, hey, give us 3 years and pay us a little bit in the first year, but in the second and third year, if we really do a good job, pay us a lot more. I think that's how they're doing this. I don't know if this was from a boot camp, and maybe it was from a boot camp. Maybe it's not. This seems like a much bigger deal. Probably didn't come from a boot camp. But Palantir is closing down these deals, man. And it's really, really, really exciting to see them get these deals. And now it's just a question of how much more can we scale it into the future. It makes you think maybe a company being worth $50 billion is not the craziest when they're getting deals like this, because the deals are just going to go on an S-curve, and that $50 billion might end up being cheap soon. Now, the market corrects. Yes, $50 billion is a bit much, but the point is this is what you want to see as a shareholder of the actual business. Forget the stock. You want to see Palantir get these types of deals. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Please make sure to subscribe to dailypalantir.substack.com if you're not subscribed. I haven't put out a newsletter in a week. I'm putting it out today because it's been a very busy week, streaming 20 hours a day. So we're going to have that first newsletter come out tonight, probably around 11 p.m. If you're watching this video, it's probably like 8 p.m. And if you haven't, subscribe to that newsletter, you can get that newsletter and it'll be in your email, and you'll see my recap on Palantir. It'll be in the description for you to subscribe. We're going to see how this price action continues to unfold. It depends, I think, on the broader market. Right now, there's an appetite for Palantir stock. There's an appetite for AI. If that keeps going, I think Palantir keeps going. If that doesn't keep going, then Palantir takes a breather. The point is, people care about this company now in a way they didn't care before, because those Q4 numbers hit it out of the park. And as long as those Q4 numbers keep doing what we got to do, Q1, Q2, Q3, all throughout 2024, I think this is a new company entering into a new era. And it's just going to be super exciting to see how this ends up playing out. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. I appreciate everyone's support. Please make sure to follow on Twitter. That's where you get all my daily updates. That's in the description. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on Daily Palantir. Bye, everybody.